This episode is all about podcasting. If you have a podcast, type the name below so that we can follow each other's podcasts and subscribe to each other's podcasts. So this is Michael Neeley. Michael's the CEO of Your Authority Blueprint, and he's an incredible podcaster. He's helped many of our colleagues in the industry launch podcasts and get them millions of downloads, and he's got an incredible, really successful podcast. Why is it the perfect time to launch a podcast?
Now is the best time. And the reason it is because if you look at YouTube, which I'm all for video, by the way, but it's somewhat of a glutted market with 23 million YouTubers out there posting content. Blogs is even more crazy with numbers in the billions of blogs that are out there. In podcasting, it's only 750,000 right now. And quite frankly, of those, only about 25% of them are actively putting out new content. So it's not a glutted market. It's a great time to get in.
You can do a podcast for little to no money. You can get your information up on iTunes. It's searchable. And I want to put a stake in the ground for every single one of you who has a message and who has a big mission to give to the world right now, especially with the planet in the shape that it's in, with all the problems we're facing. We need your message now more than ever. So we want to get you some basic information about how to get started with your podcast and share with you like one of the biggest hacks to launching the right podcast and how to do that.
Anybody really can get one out there. Now, getting it out there properly, that's a whole other story.
What's the right podcast to launch?
This is a mistake that I find a lot of beginning podcasters make, and that is that they start with what they know about and they start talking about that, which I'm not saying that that's not going to work, but it might not. So what I teach is reverse engineer your show. Start with what it is you want to sell. What are you selling? Are you selling online courses? Are you selling group coaching packages? Whatever it is you sell, start
Retreats
there.
in Bali.
There you go.
Healing sessions.
Yeah. And from there, then think of, okay, well, who will buy that? Who's my ideal client avatar that's going to purchase what I have to sell? Dial that in. Now, once that's dialed in, now what show can I create that will attract that audience? You might find that you're talking about something that's not necessarily in your wheelhouse, but it will attract that audience. And then you've got that audience there who knows, likes, and trusts you. And then you can offer what it is you do sell.
I see women all the time go, well, this is my business, but I just have a passion for this. So I'm just going to launch a podcast on knitting, or I'm going to launch a podcast on, the humpback whales. But what I really want to do is this. And I'm thinking to myself, it takes enough time and energy to get one business off the ground. Why would we dilute our efforts? Right. And I'm not saying you can't launch a second podcast. Michael has a second podcast on a third podcast on something to whine about. He's a wine connoisseur, but he does it for fun. Yeah. He stacks up some shows like on the weekend with his friends when he's like not doing other things. He like his main podcast is a part of his business in a big way.
Yeah,
so
totally.
So say a little bit more about how to reverse engineer the thing. What do you mean by that?
Well, let me use an example of one of my own clients. So she is an accountant. She's an amazing accountant. And so you could imagine that she might think, well, I want to create a show where I'm talking about accounting principles and how to be a better accountant. But the thing is, when I asked her about that, it's like, certainly it's something that she knows, it's in her wheelhouse, but who do you think is going to listen to that show? A bunch of other accountants.
Right.
And she's not selling anything to other accountants. I asked her, what do you want to sell? And here's her thing, which was really awesome. She actually takes high-end automotive repair shops, think BMW, Porsche, these repair shops. She teaches them accounting principles that allows them to maximize the money that they get to keep. And selling one package to one of these companies equates to about $60,000 for her. So I'm like, you need to create a show that will attract these automotive experts in to listen. And she's like, but I don't know that industry. I'm like, you don't have to. You just have to know the right questions to ask and the right people to invite. And so it totally changes up everything. So here's an accountant doing a show about the automotive industry, but she's interviewing, and the people who listen are her ideal client.
And for those of you that are like, where would I find people to interview? I'm here to tell you, and Michael's here to tell you, they're endless. Yeah. There are endless amounts of people out there that want to talk about what they do. The thing that we don't have enough of is messengers who have matched their message with the mechanisms that they're using to find their clients. And that's what we need more of. We need more of you standing up and getting really smart about getting your gift into the world. So tell us about the time frame. Like, where do you find the time to launch a podcast?
That's what I love about podcasting is you can have a weekly show that you devote one day out of your month to. You can record your 4 episodes on that day. You can edit those episodes, and you can actually even post them in a way that will drop them on a weekly basis, and then you forget about it until that day of the next month. So it's like watering a plant. It doesn't take hours every day. It just takes a little bit of attention, and then it'll grow over time, and the results that you create can be amazing. And I just want to mention this on my own show. I now have over 380 episodes. Even if I don't release an episode for months, which at one point I went on a 7-month hiatus, I was still getting 10,000 downloads per month while no new content was coming out. So it's a great space to continue to grow your audience.
One of my friends said to me, Sage, you don't get to decide how people consume your content. You know, I do Facebook Lives. I put up newsletters on my website every week. He's like, there are people out there that want to consume your content in other ways. So by not giving them these other avenues to consume your content, you're being incredibly selfish. I was like, oh my God, I'm being selfish. Mm-hmm. I can actually repurpose videos I'm already making, strip the audio off of the video and pop it up on iTunes as a podcast. I'm here to tell you, yes, you can multi-purpose other things that you're doing. You can make one video, one episode every week, and you can put it on YouTube. You can put it on iTunes, pop a new intro and outro on it, and get it up as a podcast. And, you know, there's people out there waking up faster than ever. You know, the coaching and mentorship industry is the second fastest growing industry right now, only to technology. So the self-improvement industry is the fastest growing industry. And in that industry, wellness and health is the fastest within our industry. So if you're sitting on a message that improves people's lives in any way, you know, you're sitting on a gold mine.
We as a society are getting more and more time crunched. And because of that, we like to multitask. And while I'm a big fan of video, you can't really multitask. You have to kind of put your focus on it. With podcasting, people are consuming your content while they're driving, they're running, they're working out at the gym, they're on the train for their commute. They're doing it while they're doing something else. That's one part that's so important. And then the other piece is that typically you're going in through their earbuds, so you're getting right into their heads. It's a very intimate relationship when you're a podcast host.
Audio quality really does make a difference because you want that intimate relationship of like being in people's ear. One of the things that I see derails women entrepreneurs the fastest is we spin out. We're creative, we have a lot of energy flowing through us, we're intuitive, we're empathic. One of the things I love about podcasting is it's a structure. If you have a podcast and you've said to the world, I'm getting an episode out every week, like you're going to follow through and do that 9 out of 10 times. And even if you miss a week here or there, it's a lot better than not having a podcast at all. It's like, how do you actually create that accountability for yourself?
What it does is it's calling you forward into being not just your best possible self, but also that commitment that you made to your tribe out there, that they're expecting that new episode to come out. And trust me, they are. You may not know it because you're not seeing them face to face, but they're out there going, oh, I can't wait till the next episode comes out.
So I want to know, if you have a podcast, post below. Like, what's the name? Where do we find it on iTunes? If you have an idea for a podcast, what's the title? Right? Especially choose a title that is going to pass what we call the face test. Like when I say I'm launching a podcast called Women Rocking Business, it's pretty clear who it's for, right? What's the title of your podcast, or one that you're, you know, swishing around in your mind? Post it below so we can give it a thumbs up. We can take a look at it. We just helped our dear friend who also works with me in my company launch her podcast, and within 30 days she popped like a $10,000 client. Yep. Yeah. I mean, brand new podcast, 30 days, 10 grand. How many of you would want that result for yourself, right? What do you want to be celebrating as we move into 2020? Like, what are you celebrating? Are you celebrating that you launched a podcast? Are you celebrating that you have a practice full of clients. You just launched your group program because you have so many people listening to you that you now have a wonderful source of lead generation, clients always finding you. So when you have new offerings, you've got that army of people that are waiting to work with you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like gold in our industry. Mwah.